All righty, moving along. Item 4, board action is requested. I move the Board of Education approve the August 13, 2020 board meeting agenda as presented. I need a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Against, nay. Motion carries. Item 5, the consent agenda. I move the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as follows. Board of Education meeting minutes, payment of bills, board policy adoption, and personnel recommendations as presented. I need a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please, Jenny.
Mrs. Conlon-Bosick,
Yes?
Mrs. Knutson-Strack,
Yes.
Mr. Reynoso,
Yes.
Mr. Sloan,
Yes.
Ms. Westfall.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 6, board reports. Does anyone have any reports for the board? Board members? Not tonight?
Nope, not me.
Alrighty, I only have one little thing to report, that our resolution, our IASB resolution was not adopted this year, and I'll find out why in about a week or so, they promised, and I will let you all know what happened. The other thing that I learned was that webinars are really bad places to have discussions on issues like this, and let's see, that was challenging. And the other thing that I learned was that some school boards have one school board that I know of had 3 resolutions. So I thought that was interesting and maybe encouraging for our board members next year. So, okay, I'm done. All righty, item 7, superintendent's report. Nicole.
Hey, so good evening, everyone. Before I get to some of the shout outs and recognition and other things, I did want to throw something out there that we've been discussing about our board retreat. I did have a chance to talk to Laura Martinez about potential dates. And I was kind of looking at Thursdays because that's kind of an evening that I think we kind of have carved out a little bit. But I was trying to avoid, having, 5 board meetings and a board retreat in a row. So I'll throw out 3 dates, and just if you want to write them down and get back to us if these work. These are all Thursdays, I believe. September 24th, October 1st, or October 15th. In talking with Laura, it can be done virtually. It can be done in person, obviously with masks and social distancing. But that's really up to what the board would want to do. They are able to do it via Zoom, so we can do that as well. What we can really make it our own, or your own rather, depending on what you want to talk about. Sort of a board self-evaluation. It can be topic-based. It can just kind of be talking about the board agreements. And we can figure that out, but I just want to throw out some logistics out to you guys and just see what you thought. And again, if you want to get back to me, and we can kind of put that together via email, depending on people's schedules. So,
Nicole, all those are Thursdays, you said?
I believe they are. I hope they are. They were supposed to be. Yes.
Yeah, I'm good with anything, but
okay.
All those are defined. But I'll send an email to Jenny.
Okay. So yeah, take a look at your schedules and let me know, or let us know if your preference would be virtually or in person, and we can go from there, I guess. Okay, so shout outs. I'm going to do some quick shout outs, and then I'll elaborate later on in the agenda because they have to do with the COVID update and the opening of school update and things like that. Number 1, I want to give a shout out to our instructional coaches, Shayna and Vic and Nathania and Tom. They've just put together some really amazing resources. And Douglas actually asked a question, hey, how are teachers being trained to teach remotely? Great question. So I want to go into that a little bit further and just show you some of the resources they put together a little bit later. But I want to give them a shout out because they've done some really wonderful work. In addition to our administration, our associate principals, Tracy, I mean, everybody really has stepped up to make sure our teachers have resources, and they're going to be able to learn and grow as we move into this remote model. I also want to give a shout out to our administrators, Dan and Jim and their staff, for putting together some really great Institute Day plans. Tomorrow, actually today was the district institute, so we had kind of an hour opening for me and Tracy, just kind of setting the stage, but then teachers and staff had time to work on what they need to work on. But tomorrow there's a whole bunch of really cool activities, and I'll let Dan and Jim fill us in a minute on that. But I want to give them a shout out for some of their plans. I also want to give a shout out to our athletic directors for maintaining really a really complex program that we probably haven't heard a lot about because, you know, knock on wood, there haven't been a whole lot of problems. There was a request by the board, you know, if we had any positive cases or anything like that, I would let you know. And as you may have noticed, you haven't heard a lot from me. So they've been doing a really nice job communicating with our coaches, making sure everything is done the way it's supposed to be done, and keeping everybody safe. And, you know, again, knock on wood, I don't want to jinx anything, but they've done a really nice job with that. We're going to talk a little bit about kind of plans for athletics moving forward as well. So again, I'll elaborate on all three of those in a minute. So that's it for the shout outs for right now. Our FOIA request was fulfilled. And then 7C, our district goals. This is kind of where I want to get into, for example, the instructional coaches. Our first goal is, you know, effectively, I'll paraphrase, you know, relevant, engaging, authentic learning. How do we do that in a remote setting? And one of the ways we do that in a remote setting is by having great instructional coaches who put really, really great resources together, as I mentioned. People have been working all summer. There have been a number of online courses that people have been working on. There's an IASA remote learning series, and there's an educator who's pretty big in the field, Catlin Tucker, who has a blended remote learning online course. But what I want to show you is some of the online resources that our coaches have put together. Let me share my screen 1 second. Make sure this works the way I want it to. There we go. All right, so this is one of the websites, the Real Hub. This is from Central, right? Yes. And just going through some of the resources they put together. You know, are you ready for fall 2020? Professional development website, e-learning resources. Again, the Return to Learn fall 2020. Instructional materials for parents. End of summer professional development session resources. Again, there have been workshops going on all summer. But for example, I mean, again, for teachers, you know, for example, WeVideo, really powerful video editing tool. As I click on that, there are all sorts of resources for teachers to use. Getting started, how to create a screencast lesson, using a green screen, recording a slideshow, all sorts of things. Let's see if I can get to this tab. All right, are you seeing ready to go for fall 2020? Okay, I just want to make sure when I switch tabs you can see it. And this, I believe, is North's version. So again, they've got a number of different things. So considerations for teachers, planning your courses for remote learning, being flexible with the learning schedule. So lots of tips and tricks, and what you'll find on the site, resources for synchronous and asynchronous learning. You can see Nathania there. So again, it's too fast to really go through all of it right now, but I just wanted to give you a flavor of you know, what our instructional coaches have put together, what our teachers, the resources our teachers have. And it was a really good question by Douglas. How are we preparing for this? And there's quite a bit going on. Tracy, I don't know if there's anything you want to add. I'm just kind of skipping around a little bit, but.
Yeah, I would just, the Real Hub document is actually the district-wide resource, North and Central, put information there for staff of both buildings. It's a tremendous resource year-round, and of course right now it's tailored toward online instruction. And I would just add they're also doing lots of in-person, well, remote, but face-to-face through remote delivery of professional development, right? So we've prepared all these resources, but the instructional coaches are also doing sessions to drill down into each of these resources, Class Kick, Zoom, Mastery Manager, just a lot of the different tools that our teachers use and may need to use differently in a remote setting. So they've been working really hard all summer in a lot of different ways. Our staff has also been working on summer curriculum projects as they dive into these resources and are using them to refine their curriculum as we move into the fall. So lots going on.
Okay. So I'm going to stop that. So again, that's kind of getting, in a roundabout way, our first goal, relevant, engaging, authentic learning in a remote setting. I just wanted to highlight some of the work that they've done and the resources our teachers have. Goal number 2 is effectively social emotional learning, again, in a remote setting. How are we going to do that? You know, today in talking with teachers, and there was a really great session we kind of alluded to at committee meetings with Rob Nicoletti. There was a great session on our summer bridge teachers, you know, kind of our first teachers who really started a course from scratch remotely, and they were sharing some of their insights, and that was really great. But just listening to that, I really felt that the message about relationships had been sent and received. You know, all the teachers there really, you know, that's something they talked a lot about. How do you get these relationships going? How do you do it in a remote setting and make, you know, remote learning not feel remote? So that was really nice. So we're just starting off with that. And this is another roundabout way to talk about athletics, because I think athletics, among other things, are for many of our students really helpful as far as social emotional learning. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. And Dan and Jim, I'm going to kick it to you in just a second. Talk a little bit about what we're finding. IHSA and ISB have a whole bunch of new guidelines in terms of what sports can be offered and when and in what format. Currently, we're offering, according to their guidelines, we can offer boys golf, girls tennis, boys and girls cross country. Again, those are sports that are a bit easier to do social distancing and remain safe. But my understanding is that we have really solid numbers and possibly higher than average numbers in all of those sports. Dan and Jim, can you give us any insight on that? As far as what you guys know?
Yeah, sure. So comparison to last year, our girls golf team, again, which is still a co-op, it's a combined North and Central team. We're at 15 girl golfers last year. We are almost double at 29 this year. Boys golf for North, last year we were at 19, this year we're at 25. And girls tennis, last year we were at 31. And this year, it fluctuates between 39 and 42, depending on the day so far. You know, what a nice problem to have. Too many kids wanting to come out and participate in our extracurricular activities. Coaches are doing a wonderful job. Obviously, Tina Willard, Brian Moe have been absolutely invaluable in setting these pieces up. But happy to report, our numbers are through the roof right now.
Yeah, golf at Grays Lake Central, full squads. Cross country, we've got there'll be a lot of people running through 70 plus running through the town of Grays Lake this fall. Cross country numbers are really big. So girls golf is a co-op. Tennis, there will be a lot of girls who will be doing, I think they call it exhibition. They're not in the top 7, places for the girls team. So we've got a lot of kids that are interested in trying a new sport. We've got over 40 in girls tennis. So good numbers, good problems.
And thank you guys. And I did not give them a heads up. I was going to ask them about this. So thank you for having those solid numbers, the actual numbers that you share. So,
Hey, Michael, I have a question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Because of the numbers for for especially in tennis, is there any interest in to have like a JV team? I don't know how that works with tennis. To just for like a 1 year type of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, currently, Douglas, I can answer that actually. For tennis, there is a varsity and a JV team. And with 39 to 42 girls, we're now currently running a JV2 as well. So you have your top varsity, you have your JV, and then you have kids that just wanted to try it. And good for them to learn something and try something new. So we're running a JV2 right now with, ironically enough, a volunteer coach.
Cool. Thank you. So as far, just to kind of finish up on the athletics, there are workout days, and again, this is all laid out in the IHSA plan and guidelines. There are workout days for the rest of the sports, so that's really all they can do is work out in a safe manner. That'll be starting, I believe, September 7th, and that'll go through the end of October. So again, roundabout way, talking about social emotional learning, we are just getting started really, obviously, with the school year. You know, I know our counselors and SST teams are meeting and really trying to develop ways that to make connections with kids and help students where they need it. So goal number 3, really quick, getting to equity. And I wanted to give you, I guess, a shout out also to one of our new staff members, Gabrielle Devlin, who is our English language learner / equity coordinator, and she's hit the ground running. Part of her job is to make sure the curriculum and all the materials are ready for our EL classes and bilingual classes. She's been diving into that, but also diving into the equity piece. And so some of her priorities I'll just kind of list here. Number 1, identify equity strengths and concerns with some of our leadership groups, and she's going to do that in September. Working on surveying the staff to identify their baseline starting points in regards to equity. She's going to be researching a foundational program to support our equity goals. So in other words, what's kind of a foundational, I guess, curriculum to use with our staff, so we can have a common vocabulary, common set of principles. So she's got a number of options she's already kind of listed out. Culturally responsive teaching in the brain, ready for rigor. Dr. Zaretta Hammond, if you're aware of equity work, she's a name for sure. Examining our placement processes into upper level classes, looking at demographic data, exploring and preparing for an equity audit. And that's done collaboratively with a team. It's going to take time to organize, but that's something that I'm very much looking forward to seeing. Just taking a good 360 view of our organization. Where are we in terms of equity? And examining how to offer home language translation to a greater percentage of documents sent home. So that'll be ongoing as well. So again, she's hit the ground running. She's had many conversations with me and with Tracy and with just lots of people. But now that people are sort of back in the buildings, quote unquote, however that means, school is starting, she's going to have a lot more access to a lot more folks. So that work is going to accelerate as well. And that's right now my my update. That's my report, and sort of my update is where we're at on our district goals. I yield the floor.
Are there any questions from board members? Okay. Hearing none, we can move on to public participation. I'll open the floor to public participation. Each participant has 3 minutes, and the board members will not engage during these 3 minutes. So we listen. And Nicole, do we have any participants?
I'm sorry, there is one person where it says iPhone. I'm not sure if that's one of us. But if that individual would like to make public comment, that'd be great.
Okay, I'm not seeing anything and not hearing anything. So we will move on to, I will close public participation and we will move on. We do not have a need to go into closed session, and we do have continuing business. Michael.
Okay. Oops. Sorry, am I muted?
The COVID-19 update.
Here we go. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm used to having multiple screens. I only have one screen, so it's causing me little issues here. getting windows lined up right. Anyway, so our coronavirus update, COVID-19 update. What I did want to share with the board, specifically with coronavirus and COVID-19, at our last board meeting, not the committee meeting, the board meeting, I had kind of mentioned in context of that presentation that we're going to be looking at some local positivity test data. So I want to show you what I've been doing is looking at the positivity rate in terms of the percent of tests in our geographic area in Grays Lake and Round Lake and Lake Villa/Lindenhurst that are positive. So one of the metrics that we are going to be using is that positivity rate, and the state gives it in terms of the state number, the region, Lake and McHenry County number, the county number, and that has kind of been fluctuating. It's been down. It's kind of coming back up to 5 point something. But what I wanted to do is look at that data localized and try to come up with a model that's a little more specific to Grays Lake 127. So I'm going to share my screen one more time, just show you where we're at. Okay, so this is the background data. You don't need to worry about that. This is just where all the data is stored, but basically what happens is that it turns into that. So this is all of these numbers, the 7.08, that's a 7-day average of our positivity numbers, right? And you can see the blue line, and basically what you need to look at is it's going down, right? So this is all the positive cases for 60030, Grays Lake, 60073, Round Lake, and 60046, Lindenhurst. And 99% of our families live in these zip codes. So what I've been able to do is look at the health data of the Illinois Department of Public Health website, collect data every day, and come up with this positivity rate. Just to remind everybody, 8% is kind of what the health department uses as, you know, kind of danger. If we have an 8% in the region, if we have the positivity rate 8% for 3 days in a row, that's when they start looking at doing some additional mitigation things, additional lockdowns, additional restrictions. So that's definitely a number we want to keep away from. 5% is still considered high depending on who you're talking to. So the World Health Organization said organizations, you know, should not open up if you have any, you know, if you're 5 or above, basically. What we're seeing here is it's going down, but it's still hovering around the 5-ish, 6-ish range. As of yesterday, it dropped down quite a bit, and it popped up again today. And that's, again, the 7-day average. For that to pop up that much, that means today we had kind of a big influx of cases. We'll see where it goes. This red line is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create a model where it's weighted based on the proportions of kids who attend Grays Lake 127. So again, half of our kids are in 60030, 30% here, 20% here. I don't know if it's useful or not. It's obviously following the same pattern as everything. But I just wanted to kind of show you where that data was going. Thankfully, up until today, it's kind of been going down. We'll see where it goes. Again, what does this all mean? We're not really sure yet. We're trying to take that in context with the region numbers, with the number of positive cases per 100,000, and just get a sense of where the community is at in terms of the infection. So I just wanted to show you that. I had mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, so I wanted to show you where it was going. As far as the coronavirus update, that's really what I have right now outside of, you know, all the opening day activities. Any questions on that? I will stop sharing there. Okay. Yes.
I'll just say, Mikkel, that I'm glad that you're tracking it to the localized level, because I know that you can look at it like just for Grays Lake, but we're more than just Grays Lake. And people do ask and make queries about, well, what is it like by us, by me? And this gives us that kind of information, and we can look at it to our own towns. But this does give us additional information that I think is helpful while we're all looking at the regional information and the county information. It just is just helpful information. So it brings up the whole, it brings together the whole story,
Yep.
the piece. So I appreciate it.
I think it's interesting that our data is going down and everything else seems to be going up. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic. So
I watch the data every day for what I do, and it's been doing kind of this, a little down, a little up, a little down. It's just been hovering. So I look at Region 9 and Region 10 every day for what I do. So, yep, I'm with you.
Great. Okay, so that's basically the coronavirus update that I have for you today. Opening of school update. So today was our opening institute. As I kind of mentioned, we had our opening presentation. Tracy and I, we kind of tried to give the staff, we introduced our new staff, which by the way, I can't believe I didn't forget or didn't remember. Our new staff is really exciting. They are just phenomenal. Just their backgrounds are really just fascinating in a lot of ways, and just a lot of great enthusiasm, and I think it's going to be a great group. So, you know, we tried to implore our veteran staff. You know, I don't think this is going to be a problem, but you know, make sure we're supporting them, making sure that you know we're looking out for them. This is very different, obviously, being in a remote setting, and I think it's going to be just fine. They're going to be great additions. But then we went through some of the stuff that we've gone through at our board meetings about kind of how we're making decisions, some of the metrics we're using. I didn't want to belabor the point too much or go into too many details, but I just wanted to be transparent, make sure our staff knew what we're looking at, and make sure they knew we don't exactly know how it's all going to play out. It's still a work in progress. So we talked about that. Tracy went over some instructional reminders because that's, I think, first and foremost on people's minds because students are coming a week from today. We talked about equity a little bit as well in that context. But, and I kind of had also mentioned that what I learned teaching remote session was just phenomenal. I mean, you got a taste of it last week with Rob Nicoletti, but you know, to hear the teachers who are in there and just their positivity about, yeah, this remote thing can work. It can feel like a class. It can feel like, you know, I don't know if they use this term, but like real school. It can work and give a lot of great tips and tricks to, well over 100 teachers were there, I believe, right? So that was phenomenal. But for the most part, you know, teachers are working in their departments or curriculum teams or whatever they needed to do. They had a lot of time today to work on that. Tomorrow, that's our individual building days. And so I'm going to kick it to Dan and Jim just to, if they could give you an update to give the board kind of a summary of what some exciting things that are happening tomorrow.
Sure. So tomorrow morning, we have I open it up to 50 staff members who could come in and come into the library and be live for a presentation in the library. Prior to that, we're going to have some coffee in the parking lot. After our presentation, we have yard signs for freshmen. So about a quarter or a third of the staff is going to be delivering those. Everybody else will be, I distributed names and emails of all the 10th through 12th grade students to them today. So they'll be writing a welcoming email to them on their school accounts to just, I mean, school ended very weirdly last year. And, you know, and Jim and our conversations this summer, it's like, we need to get them back. We need to remind them that school is where home is. So that's what our plans are tomorrow. And in the afternoon will be spent working on the curriculum teams again, led by the department chairs.
Yeah, and I'm going to start by echoing what Mikkel said, and I speak for Dan. You know, our new hires this year, in a time when you don't think the applicant pool is going to be large, we've hit some home runs. I could not be more excited for the folks entering District 127. And I know you will be just as excited when you get the chance to meet, hear, see them in action. For our opening day, we're going to do something a little bit different. We normally do. But we will be outside. We are going to meet in the stadium field. I've opened it up to everybody, and it was an option. And I'm happy to say that out of about 160 staff members, I have 130 wanting to come and reconnect. And that's really the theme for our day. It is about connection. It's about inspiration. It's about reaching out. So not only connecting with each other, we're running sort of an ulterior theme, and that's this theme of superheroes. And our sort of basic message is, starting in March of 2020, Grays Lake District 127 became superheroes. And it is about connecting and doing everything we can, doing whatever it takes to reach out to our kids in a completely different environment. It doesn't mean that we can't do innovative, disruptive, meaningful things. So what we're going to do is we're going to meet in the stadium field. We're going to talk about this superhero piece. They're going to go out to the parking lot, all 120 some odd who decided. They will receive packages that include chalk, mini chalkboards, a cape, and a mask to remind them that they are superheroes. And the idea is to chalk it forward. So we are going to encourage all staff members to write a message and simply answering the question, why students matter. So they're going to chalk that message in the parking lot. We're going to grab, obviously, photos, tweet it out. And as I said, it's about connection. And it's not about connection with each other. It's about connection with our kids. So each staff member will receive about 12 to 13 addresses, and we will visit every student home in Grays Lake North, and we will drop off that same package and encourage them to chalk it forward, write a message. Why does your friends, why does your staff, why do your parents, why does our community matter? So again, it is about connecting, not only connecting with each other, but connecting with our kids. And I'm happy to say that we put out an email to all of our North families, giving them a heads up that they're going to see some staff members visiting their homes. I can't tell you the emails I've received already from our parents thanking us for doing something a little bit out of the ordinary, making a connection similar to what Central's doing, visiting the freshman homes. We've got to think creatively. We've got to think out of the box about how to keep connections alive and keep building relationships, even in a remote setting. So couldn't be more excited for tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing everybody. It's about time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just to get back to what I learned teaching remotely, it was so nice to hear teachers talking about instruction in kids and not like viruses and positivity rates. It was great. So yeah, tomorrow I'm really excited about. Yeah, it's going to be good to reconnect with everybody. So that is the end of what I have to present to you. Or do you have any questions about anything?
I will just mention one more thing, that while we are outside, and there's 120 some odd, all safety protocols will be utilized. Masks, even outside, socially distanced. We measured it out today.
Thank you. I have something to say. I want to say thank you, Dan, Jim, Nicole, everyone. I mean, for putting the relationship with our children first. One of the things I was reading today, that I always read these articles about what is a high school, and it's really a place where people come to be inspired. They have their friends, they have people they care about. They put up with school because of their friends. I'm sorry, but I mean, they're such a social bunch, and just to hear you, really putting that forward and realizing that we can't do anything else unless we have that relationship in place. It's just so heartening. I actually think it's going to be, if this keeps up, it's going to be a great year. Weird, but great. And I think you guys are making the most of it. And I just love the heart that you're bringing to it. So I'm very moved by what you were all saying. So I thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, you never know what that spark is going to be, and it sounds like you guys are really going to bring it. So thank you.
I'll be thinking about you guys all this week and all next week as you get ready for the first day of school, but I'm excited I love the innovation, and as the only North Board member, I'm going to be looking for superhero teachers in my community tomorrow.
I can tell you that my freshman, Ryan, he's just really excited. So he's running the cross country and he's passing, they meet right by the school and he's just ecstatic. So thank you, Dan, for making that happen.
I will share one more. I'll share one more thing. I think I shared this in P-Cubed last week that my daughter received just her schedule last week. And everything about it was as if it was just a regular school year. Excitement, sharing, all of it. It was just lockstep of what I would expect her to act like with a school year. And I found that, I thought that was a really good sign. So anyway, I'll just share that again. So.
Yeah, I mean, again, like just hearing all of this and experiences today, it's like, I think we're all tired of talking about what we can't do. Let's talk about what we can do. We can do a lot, and we are going to do a lot for our kids. So thanks very much.
All righty. If there aren't any other questions, we'll move along to item 11, committee reports. Facilities and Finance, Douglas.
Okay, we had a meeting on August 6th. We're going to be we went over capital projects, very lengthy discussion. COVID update, and that was really it. And obviously, I'm sorry, the financial review, which you'll see tonight. I think all the board members were there. Thank you for continuing to attend the meeting. That's really good. We can get everything out in the open. And our next meeting is September 3rd.
Thank you, Douglas. Illinois Association of School Boards, Jonathan?
Yep. So there's a webinar on August 21st at 1 p.m. with a focus on special education. So again, if you're interested in attending, you should have received an email from Dean. And if you don't have that, I can forward that, or Jenny can as well.
Okay. The screen froze. I'm thinking that you might be done. Thank you. And I'm going to move on to programming, policy, and personnel. Amy?
Yes, we had a meeting last week. We had a really good conversation with Mr. Nicoletti and Dr. Landry about summer school. And I'm really glad to know that a lot of that went in. I mean, there was just so much energy that came from summer school that's been just passed through. So that was a really good conversation. Mark gave a really good update about IEPs and families and our outplacement programs and what's happening with them. And then Danielle gave an update about staffing and evaluations, which has been on our minds too. So we've just had a lot going on with that. And then board policies. So we had an update about that. And you'll see a first reading in your packet. So most of them are just press updates. So they're all there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amy.
You're welcome.
Okay. Hal, CEDAW.
Yes, they are obviously going remote, and the challenges for that group might even be greater than what we have at what be the main campuses. So they're working through it, and as Amy said, the IEPs were addressed last week by Mark, and the work that's being done there. So there's a constant barrage of things that needs to be handled there, and they seem to be, just taking them one by one and moving on to the next. So that's really all I got for you.
Thank you very much, Hal. Okay, we're going to move on now to new business. We have a tentative budget for fiscal year 2021. I'm actually saying that, 2021. Wow. Douglas.
Thank you. I move the Board of Education accept the tentative budget as presented for the fiscal year commencing on July 1st, 2020, and ending June 30th, 2021. And that the budget be placed on file for public inspection from August 14th to September 17th, 2020 at the district office, located at 400 Lake Street, Grays Lake, Illinois, between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 4 o'clock p.m. and on the district website. And that a public hearing of said budget to be held at 6:45 on September 17th, 2020, prior to the regular meeting of the Board of Education in this school district in room 1595, 400 Lake Street, Grays Lake, Illinois, as discussed and recommended by the F&F committee.
Wow. Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Babe, you want to say anything?
Absolutely. There's quite a bit to say. Much of the details we've gone through, but ultimately, we have a balanced budget and one that has the capacity to absorb our transitions from remote to hybrid to full in-person this year. So I'm pleased to present a balanced budget overall. We are absolutely monitoring every expense and the implications due to COVID, primarily as it relates to transportation, food services, maintenance, custodial services. All these are elements that are affected through all these transitions. And I'm very pleased to present an overall balanced tentative budget to the Board of Education.
Thank you, Abe. It was very thorough.
Two things to say. First of all, thank you personally for every board member. You've been very involved in this budget discussion, and I think it makes us understand the budget a lot better as a team. And I thank you. Also, Abe, you hit a home run. You came in pretty quickly after Mike leaving, obviously, and thank you for all the hours we've worked together and what you've presented. So thanks.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
If I could add, I appreciate the graphics and the way that you display the information. I found that to be really helpful. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. Thank you
So much, Douglas. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, real quick. Do we need to add language about like potentially a virtual meeting into the motion?
It'll be handled just like all the other ones. It'll just be a separate link, or Nicole and I'll use the same link like we did before for the special board meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be posted on the website, obviously. So
Correct.
So business as usual, right?
Correct.
Good question, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you. Any others? Amy? Hal? No?
No, I'm good.
We're all good? All righty. We'll move on. Roll call vote, please, Jenny.
Okay. Janice, Jenny.
I know.
Ms. Westfall.
Yes.
Mr. Sloan.
Yes.
Mr. Reynoso.
Yes.
Mr. Nergy.
Yes.
Mrs. Knutson-Strack.
Yes.
Mrs. Conlon-Moss.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Douglas, for shepherding everything. It was great. Okay, moving on to 12B, board policy, first reading. Amy, do you have anything that you would like to add, or are we good?
I think we're good. Everything is in the board packet if there are any questions from anyone. It's pretty self-explanatory. They're press updates. Yeah.
Okay, great. Then we will, if there aren't any other questions about this, we will move on to future topics.
I have one, and I don't know where this goes, Kathleen.
Okay.
But as we're going back to paper board packets, there is confidential information in these packets. I just want to remind everybody to dispose of it properly. We used to take it back to the school and they can shred it, but if you guys can shred it on your own, that'd be
I have shredding Sundays.
excellent. Love to hear.
Good. Great point. maybe we should talk a little bit about that in one of our upcoming meetings and make sure each of us has a process. But thank you so much, Douglas. That's really important. Anyone else?
Or can it be just possibly does it need to be discussed necessarily, or maybe there can be a reminder out about being able to send stuff back to the school to be shredded?
Yeah, I think that's interesting.
Or no?
Let's send some emails around when we get a chance if anyone has any ideas, and we'll go from there. But I do like the idea.
Is that an administrative? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
Never mind.
No, you're right, Amy. That's good. Maybe when we drop they drop the packets off, we leave another folder if we want something shredded. Easy as that. I mean,
That's what I was going to
Not everyone has a shredder. I have a massive shredder here, so I just have shredding Sundays.
You would, Amy. You would have a shredder.
I do.
I know.
My question is, I mean, how do we want to continue with paper? We were kind of doing that because of the new board book, and how's everybody doing with that? With the new system? I mean, if we don't have to have paper, that takes care of the shredding.
I'd rather have you go back to what we had before.
Yeah, I don't need paper anymore.
Okay.
I didn't want paper in the first place. I just tolerated it, so it's great.
We figured it was a transition, kind of thing, but
You guys have been wonderful. But
We'll just plant a few trees at our board retreat. It'll be okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I can send out an email to all the board members and include Mikkel, and we can do an email of who wants paper, who doesn't, and we can kind of discuss for September now that we have a few weeks in between.
Yes. That sounds good, Jenny. That's a good solution. Thank you.
again, not trying to rush people along. We want to make sure you're comfortable with the new board book. Now that it's rolling, we kind of got the bugs worked out. It's pretty slick, but again, don't want to assume. So.
Okay.
And I will also put out there, if anyone needs extra training, I can provide extra training. I've done a couple one-on-ones and it's about 15, 20 minutes. So if anyone wants an extra training, I'm more than happy to sit with you and walk you through it.
Anything else? Well, I do have one thing to say, and it's very brief. Our last committee meetings ran very long. I just want to thank all the people who have cats for your cats closing down the meeting. That was good. And I just want you to know, extra kibble for all of those cats, because they were, and I think Erin's cat really had quite a performance. So for those that were there. Okay, are we good to move on? All right, we do not have a need to go into a second closed session, so I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Okay, is there any
Second.
discussion? Yeah.
Motion, I don't know.
Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Against, nay. Motion carries. Good night, everyone, and thank you. This was great. Good night.
Under an hour.
So,
Proud
Yes.
of everyone.
Yeah.
I'm in shock.
Yeah.
All right, good night, everyone. Take care.
aye.
I'm worried about the cat showing up again.
I think that was mine, right? The photobombing?
Yeah, the photobombing.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. At least it wasn't the 80-pound dog. Yeah.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.